The people who are coming up to speak now are true heroes of our republic. They have faced unbelievable scrutiny. They have continued to march forward in the face of ridicule, of discouragement, of no money, no support, Trump endorsing somebody else, whatever it may be. And most importantly, this is not Republican versus Democrats. We have people in the Democratic Party who love this republic just as much as you. And they're out here fighting just as much as you. And they don't have a home either. And for them to come over, and we're now talking together. We're trying to do this together because we all know we're in trouble. So as you get these next speakers up, you're going to see that these are people from other states that are coming here on their time to talk to you in South Carolina and tell you, this is what we achieved. This is what you look out for. So now is your Republic brief. Now we're going to start out with Georgia, right? Is it Georgia? Our neighbor, Georgia, they've got really clean elections. So Tamara and I have gotten to know each other, Tamara Johnson-Shealy. And we've gotten to know each other. We spoke multiple times together now. And I'm so happy to have her. And she's got her group. I'm going to let you introduce the other speakers. Tamara is a former 2022 candidate for United States Senate representing Georgia. She ran for United States Senate in the special election and placed 6th in the field of 21 candidates, gathering 106,000 votes. And that's hard to do, folks. That's hard to do. She's a lead advocate of HB 89. It's a bill introduced in Georgia in 2023 and 2024 legislative session to address the impact of slavery and the Jim Crow descendants of chattel slavery in Georgia. She leads an organization of the concerned beauty and barley professionals. I mean, this goes on and on and on. So having run multiple times for office, being ridiculed by the disgusting establishment, trust me, I know how hard it is to be the person out there who tries to be your voice. And she's done that for her people, for us, right? And I'm really excited to hear what she's got to say. Come on up.
You know what? I'm just going to say it. What he said to me, I'm going to say it out loud to him. He said, I love you. And I said, I love you more. Keith is a wonderful person. I just want to thank him for inviting me out, inviting us out. This is Mr. Marcel Dixon. I'm going to bring him up in just a few moments. But I am Tamara Johnson-Shealy. I was a candidate to the United States Senate in the state of Georgia. I ran against the Reverend Senator Raphael Warnock. I challenged the establishment, so y'all know where this is going. So I ran. This was actually not my first run for office. Wasn't my first run, not my second, not my third, not my fourth. This was actually my 5th consecutive run for office. I ran for the Georgia State Senate in 2014, 2016, and 2018. Came out of the gate, got 37% the first time, 43.8% the second time. The third time, I saw the underhanded party politics and how it all works. It really broke my heart, but it didn't break my spirit. I decided to continue on in the race that Keith mentioned. That was my 4th race when I ran for the United States Senate. There were 21 candidates in that race. 6 came in 6th place. The 5 ahead of me had millions of influence, but coming in 6th place felt pretty damn good because I was the first place grassroots candidate. So felt real good. Came back again in 2022, and that's when I challenged the Reverend Senator Raphael Warnock, and this is where the story just goes downhill. In 2018, let me tell you something briefly. In 2018, in that governor's race where Brian Kemp and Stacey Abrams challenged each other, I saw that race, and I didn't quite understand what was happening with politics and the numbers in that particular race. Watched in 2020, the presidential election, Donald Trump, Joe Biden. Didn't quite understand what was happening in Georgia politics, and the numbers still didn't look right, but I did not know what was going on. But in 2022, in my race, it made a whole lot of sense when it happened to me. So in 2022, just to give you an example, Fulton County, there was a discrepancy of over 42,000 votes, just Fulton County alone. And y'all know the stories of Fulton County. So this is where I saw that party politics, I learned in 2018, that was a game, but I also learned in 2022 that the numbers just are not adding up. And there's more to the story. And a lot of Democrats, just to be honest with you today, and why Keith has invited us, Democrats don't know. And I'm going to tell you that the media has painted such a picture of what this is all about that it scares the hell out of most of them. So there's a lot of education that needs to happen. There's a lot of talking. And I created an initiative. Let me go back to 2022 when I didn't prevail, just to give you some more insight. Democrats, Republicans, up and down the ballot, from school board all the way to the top of the ticket, not one incumbent lost their seat. Absolutely mathematical improbability there. There's like, how can not in one incumbent up and down the ballot, Democrats or Republicans, not lose their seat in the entire state? We saw it, we didn't understand it. So some Democrats and myself and some Republicans and some independents, we all came together and created an initiative called Recount Georgia 2022. And Recount Georgia 2022 was our initiative as candidates to get the ballot recounted, because we saw the numbers and they did not add up, just did not make sense. Right. So we asked, all of us individually asked for a recount of our races. Of course, we were denied, but we didn't stop there. We said, you know what, we're going to push this even further. We initiated a lawsuit. It was dismissed, but we didn't stop fighting. I was encouraged by this group of candidates that all of us came together, put our party politics or whatever we believe to the side, because it didn't matter. Because if we don't have fair elections, it doesn't benefit any of us, right? We're just running a losing race. So after that, I decided, okay, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. And while I've stayed connected with Keith and stayed connected with the America First Project, I'm not going to stop, because we're never going to get this right until we get our elections right. So I'm going to kind of reflect on what I heard thus far with all the speakers. Keith, one thing you said was, this is not Republicans versus Democrats, and it's not. We're going to have to put our party politics to the side, and let's get to the root of our elections, because we're all losing. It's us against them. It is truly, if you see the title of this segment, it's truly a uniparty. It's the establishment, that's the Democrats and the Republicans at the top of the food chain, versus the rest of us. So the rest of us have to come together. I am a reparationist. I fight very boldly for the needs of the Black community because, and I'll let Marcel speak to that, the disparities and what is happening to this nation, we got to address it. It can't be unaddressed. Immigration is a problem. We got some real problems. Marcel, I'm going to hand you the mic in just a minute, brother, because I know that's your lane. So I'll let him have that conversation, speak to you about that. But it's them, the establishment, versus the grassroots. You guys are MAGA, you're patriots, however you define yourself. We have to come together as a nation and say, you know what, if we're going to have real elections, fair elections in this country, we're going to have to come together as Americans. Yeah. Juan, he said, how do we counter what is happening to us? I was listening to you very carefully, brother. Nancy, we don't want to end up like Venezuela. Paulo, I hope I'm saying his name right, Paulo, that political retaliation is real. And I can tell you that my social media was shut down. I was suspended. And now I'm in a legal battle for my own home behind an election. So just know that political retaliation is very real. Mark talked about question our system. We can't not question this system and look and have transparency. He is a freedom fighter. That's what Keith called him, and he is. Boom, brother, we are our last hope, and we do have to come together as Americans again to address what is happening. So the uniparty is real. On the other side, again, of my election, I've created this after Recount Georgia 2022. Now I have Reaching Across the Aisle, where this is a podcast that I've started that I am intentional about talking to in audiences where y'all don't look like me, but I'm coming to you and I'm going to reach across the aisle in hopes that you'll reach across the aisle. And let's have the hard conversations. There are issues, political issues that we need to continue to hash out. But in the midst of us hashing out these political issues, let's address election integrity. Let's put it, let's center it. Let's make it the initiative as we continue to come together. And again, it's called Reaching Across the Aisle. I have a podcast. I've started a tour. My goal is to go across 6 states, the southern states, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, going into the Black community and having this conversation. Again, most Democrats and a majority of us vote Democratic. We don't know what's going on. And what we think we know, it's wrong. So there's a lot of education that needs to happen, and we need to open the door again to all of us as Americans addressing election integrity. So I'm going to pass the mic to my brother Marcel Dixon and hopefully get y'all back on track with your time today. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Greg Marcel Dixon, and I know Mr. Keefe said that we were from 2 other states, but I'm right from here, from South Carolina. And not only am I from South Carolina, I'm pretty much down the street. I'm from Jasper County. So I'm talking to my neighbors. So how are y'all? Tamara's got me hot, so I'm going to take this hat off, and I'm going to really speak to y'all frankly. So first of all, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on me. I'm going to go fast, so I don't want to take too much time. But I was born in Savannah, Georgia, because Jasper County has no hospitals. We now have the hospital in Hardyville, but they usually send us to Savannah anyway. But my family is natives of what is now Jasper County and Beaufort County, and a little bit of here in Charleston and Georgetown. And growing up, I saw a lot of poverty, which is not unique to the Black experience, but is disproportionately throughout the Black community. I saw my cousins having to use outhouses. I had family members calling my family, asking if we can bring them a box of cereal so they can have something to eat. That's the type of poverty I grew up seeing and experiencing. So I was in between jobs, and I went to substitute because a friend said, well, you should substitute teach. They always need substitute teachers. And I was in charge of this class for a week, and I was supposed to be there for the whole month. But the teacher came back early. But before I left, I gave the students, I taught them how to do simple division, and I gave them a test. And the teacher came back that Monday, so I got a call saying, well, we won't put you back in that class. So I was sent through other schools throughout the Jasper County School District. And y'all know, unfortunately, the Jasper County School District is the lowest performing school district in the state of South Carolina. And South Carolina, unfortunately, is one of the lowest performing states educationally. So that's just giving you some background of the type of educational neglect I grew up experiencing, and that my kids, because I consider my students my kids, that my kids right now are experiencing. Not all of them look like me. Some of them look just like you. So I was going to my car one day, and I heard these kids saying, Mr. Dixon, Mr. Dixon, Mr. Dixon. And you know, with kids reaching in their pocket, I was like, wait, what's going on? But they pulled out their pocket this crumpled sheet of paper, and they said, we've been looking for you for a month. I said, well, what is it? They wanted to show me their division test. They had their teacher graded, and they passed, and they held them to that test for a month just to show me. I knew right then and there, that is what, I don't believe in predestination, but I felt that was what I was inclined to do. So I became a teacher, and from the start of my career to what is now the end, and I'm gonna get to that, I won award after award. The most positive behavioral class on campus, teacher of the year, district teacher of the year, academic coach of the year. And I thought I was doing something. I would take Jasper County students and go against these private schools where people were having meals catered to their children, and we would beat them. It would be 28 other schools, and we never quite came in first place, or we would come in second place. I said, one day we're going to get to first place, and they might still get there. I hope they do, but I won't be the one bringing them there, and I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute. But I realized, I thought I was giving back to my community, and I realized I was not doing enough. I was seeing too many of my students, white students too, but especially my Black American students, especially my Black American boys, ending up in jail, ending up dead. Those are extreme cases. Most did not end up there, but I saw too many of them fighting the same poverty that my great-grandmother died at 101, 2015. She had all her senses. They were experiencing the same poverty that she told me she experienced growing up in Beaufort, South Carolina. And I said, this ain't right. So I said, I want to give back to my community more. So I tried to make Black history mandatory in South Carolina. And this is where it gets interesting. I called the NAACP, who claimed that they speak for us. They hung the phone up on me. They were nasty. They were despicable. I called my state senator, Margie Bright. She never returned my phone call. So I said, well, I thought the Democrats say black voters matter. I realized black voters don't matter to them. Black votes matter. They don't care about how black voters are doing. So I said, well, let me call Clyburn, James Clyburn. Oh yeah, it gets better. James Clyburn was a history teacher. He's called the Cane Maker. He's the third most powerful Democrat and one of the most powerful politicians in America. And most of all, he's my representative. He works for me. So I said, let me call him and see if he'll help me. He should be interested in this topic. I was naive. I had never been involved in politics in my life, never cared about it. My family's background, Baptist, that's one thing, but Muslims and then Jehovah's Witnesses. So my family always taught us to be neutral, just stick to the Bible, and that's what we should convince people to follow. So I've never been involved in politics. But I called James Clyburn office, and when they told me he would get back to me, I believed it. So I waited for him to call me back. Never happened. But I called again, and they said, he will contact you. We got your message. And I kept calling. And I said, wait a minute. Is this how it goes in politics? Your constituents who pay your salary call you about a concern and you just lie to them like it's no big deal? I said no. So something lit up in me, and I was determined to find James Clyburn. If I had to turn South Carolina upside down and shake it until he came out. Now, I said to myself that this is not right. You don't ignore the people for whom you're supposed to represent. How can you represent the people when you never speak to them? So I went on Twitter, because they had no longer answered. They were answering my email, my phone calls. And I saw a black man in Orangeburg, South Carolina, confronting Clyburn, not just about how Clyburn has failed black South Carolinians, because he was being specific to us, but how the Democrats have failed black Americans. And I said, well, what are you saying that for? I always knew growing up in the deep South that if you're black and you're Southern, the Republicans are public enemy number one. That's how I was raised to believe. I never believed that. I believed that they were all awful. I called them the Democrats and the Republicans. I hated both until I did my research. So I looked up some of the things this gentleman was saying to Clyburn. He said that black Americans had lost 90% of our land, 20 million acres, from 1901 to 1997. Now, 1901, America was doing all type of awful things. But I was like, what's the excuse for that? 1965, I found out we had been voting for the Democrats 90% or more since 1965. We have less land than we had during then. We own less homes now. Our wealth is going backwards. Our kids are killing themselves more. Our schools are a mess. And I said, wait a minute. So Clyburn is on television talking about illegal immigrants, how they deserve to become citizens, how they deserve to get houses. Exactly. Boo, definitely. How they deserve to get houses, how they deserve to get resources in healthcare and transportation. And then he said, the dreamers. And I said, the dreamers? Then I realized Trump was right. Americans are dreamers too. Okay? Now, and people say, oh, you a Trump supporter. I say, and what if I am? I said, I support what's right. What's right, it was right, and wrong is wrong. I said, how dare Clyburn be a black man? Now, first of all, if you are a politician, you're supposed to represent everyone. I don't see party. I see the people. You don't go up in Congress representing Republicans or Democrats. You're supposed to represent the people. But I said Clyburn, to be a black man who grew up in the South at a time when there were horrific things happening, for his district to be 49 to 60% black, he's talking about illegal immigrants deserve the American dream, while his constituents, but especially his fellow black Americans, we're living the American nightmare. I said, that's going to stop. So I ran for office. And I ran on a platform of saying that America is a country that if our elections are not secure, it should not be the responsibility of the people who vote for these leaders to fix it. It should be the responsibility of the people we entrust with being in the government to fix it. I said, you fix what you break. So I ran on a platform of reparations as well. But and the Democrats, they didn't like that because they don't want Black Americans getting anything. They need to keep us down so we can feel like we need them. I know a lot of people here may not agree with some of my views, but I know with the Republican side, people don't like big government. And what I said to white Republicans when I spoke to them in my race, I said, you get big government when you have a pathetic government. I said, when the government is doing its job, people don't look to the government to provide for them. I said, when you start seeing the government getting bigger, that means the government just got a lot more pathetic. So I said to people, I said to the Democrats, I don't support abortion. And that made public enemy number one. I said, I looked up, Black women are like 15 to 20% of all American women. We have like 45 to 50% of all abortions. And then I looked up and I said, I grew up in Jasper County, a very poor county in South Carolina. I said, we don't have good schools, we don't have good roads, we don't have good nothing. But you can go down the street to Savannah and find several abortion clinics. I said, why don't you make it easier for people to have babies instead of making it easier for people to kill babies? Now, I said to them, we live in a country that says life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. I said an unborn child that that's not a child that's not alive. I said, so if that child has a heartbeat and that child has cerebral activity, and if the mother's life is not risked, you will not kill that child. Now, they started calling me a Trumpster. They still call me that. I said, I support gun rights. I said, yes, I do. I said, I got guns, I'm going to get more of them. I said, you see, Tamara done told y'all, a lot of Black Americans were very intelligent people, but most Americans don't pay attention to what's going on in the world of politics, and the politicians love it that way. Most Black Americans hear the Democrats come up with these crazy policies and think they're going to help us because someone on the news said it would. If any group in America needs to always be well armed, it is Black Americans. It makes no sense for us to support gun confiscation. Absolutely not. I also said to them that they said, well, why don't you go after Lindsey Graham? Why don't you go after Tim Scott? I said, we haven't been voting for the Republicans for the past 60 years. I said, the Democrats do this thing called a double standard. I don't like it. They say that the Republicans are bad or conservatives are bad, and the Democrats and liberals are good. They say to Black Americans, you should vote for us. We're your friends. We're your allies. We vote for them, right? Over 90%. No other group in America votes for a party that high. It's almost insanity in a sense. So we vote for them, and then things go wrong with us, and we go to them to hold them accountable. They say, well, what about the Republicans? Are you asking them? No. If you get the vote, you get the accountability that comes with it. Now, so here's where my election story comes in. I was running for office. I was never supposed to win. No one knew me. I had never done anything with politics. I wrote my own website from scratch. I went from 300 followers on Twitter to now almost 23,000. I went from people not knowing my name to over 100 interviews. Time magazine called me. A country boy in the town of Ridgeland, which some of you probably heard of, that has no more than 3,000 people. Time magazine called me and interviewed me. I was never supposed to be this big of a threat. Clyburn, for the first time in the history that I've known of him, he was doing town halls, he was doing billboards, he was doing mailers. Clyburn has never had to work for his seat before. It got so bad, he got the vice president to come and say to people, please vote for this man. He's desperate. So I got 5% of the vote, and I was proud of what I accomplished. I said, because a person who only had 6 months, no money most of the time, I shouldn't have gotten one vote, but I got 5%. But here's where things get interesting. After the election was over, y'all probably know Duke Buckner. Well, yes, Duke Buckner called me Some of his friends called me. Now, these are people who don't see eye to eye with me politically. But like Tamara said, you think all soldiers agree with each other when they go on the battlefield? No, but they put those disagreements aside to focus on the big picture, the big objective. These white Republicans, black Republicans, even some Democrats, I can't say their names because they put them in trouble, called me and said, the way the votes were going, the preliminary data we had, it was going in your direction. Now, I can't definitively say that's the case, but what I can tell you is that I'm taking cybersecurity course right now, and that because somebody has to do it. And I said, and y'all probably know about this. This is all new to me. 6 years ago, they did a cybersecurity hackathon. They have first-year cybersecurity students hack these voting machines, and they did it in less than 2 hours. You are not going to tell me if first-year cybersecurity students can hack a voting machine in less than 2 hours. You're not going to tell me that people who work around the clock to hack the machines can't do it either. I'm not done. 1 + 1 is 2. Now, the second thing that happened, Greenville, South Carolina, and I know y'all know this story, they refused to certify the vote. The South Carolina Republican Party overruled them. And I said, I thought that, you know, when Stacey Abrams was saying that the voting was not secure, the Democrats were believing it. So now that Trump is saying it, it's a lie. How is it the truth when your party's saying it, but it's a lie when the other party's saying it? You see, I don't move that way. Right is right and wrong is wrong. So the Republican Party overruled it, and it kind of bothered me. And my protest against the vote was ignored. But the thing that happened afterwards, and y'all probably saw this story, but they kept it under wraps. Clyburn's brother and Nikki Haley's husband were both in the paper for supposedly, allegedly, I have to say that, getting too many shares, possibly from a Native American tribe that's building a multi-million-dollar casino. Now, here's the stuff about that casino you need to know. Who wrote the bill to get the land for that casino? Clyburn. Now, when will you ever see Nikki Haley and Clyburn in the same picture? Never. But now you see they are. It is truly a uni party. It is truly a uni party, and we have to stop it. I'm going to end with these last two things. One, I'm going to say James Baldwin is one of my favorite Americans, and he said, I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. James Baldwin said, if they come for you in the morning, they'll be coming for me at night. So if any group in America knows what it's like to not have our vote matter, to be viciously locked out of having a voice, it's Black Americans. They've done it to us for centuries. Don't think that once they get through with us, don't think they won't come for you, because they will. But the Constitution, the preamble of the Constitution says the government doesn't have the power. The government only gets the power that we allow them to have. One of the sayings that really irritates me is when people say it is what it is. No, it's not. It is what we allow, and we ain't allowing this. Greg Marcel Dixon, thank you.